Opposed? All right. So we have like specific questions that we always ask all our career spotlights. And okay, the first one is basically, what do you do, and what do you love about your job?
Okay, so I am a physician assistant, which is, if you know what a nurse practitioner is, it's very similar to that. So I tell patients sometimes that we are between a nurse and a physician. Physician assistants and nurse practitioners can prescribe, can see patients, can do almost anything that a physician can. Some of the limitations are when there's surgery. So most of the time, physician assistants aren't performing surgery alone. If they are, then it's just smaller procedures. Um, so my favorite thing about being a PA is getting to talk to patients all day long, getting to see patients for both small, minute things and also big life-changing things. Um, so right now, so for the past 7 years, so I've been a PA for 15 years. For the past 7 years, I've been working in vascular surgery, which means I get to see patients for very easy things, like if they have varicose veins on their legs and they want them treated or
What
injected.
are varicose veins?
Like if they have those big, um, some people think they look bad, veins that are bulging on their legs or causing them pain or unsightly, and they come in and get them treated. But vascular surgery also treats aneurysms of the aorta in the belly, aneurysms in the chest, carotid disease in the neck, when people get infections on their feet and they don't have enough blood supply down to their feet because of vascular disease. So those patients have big problems and big things going on in their life. And when they see us, they sometimes are having a bad week or month or bad year. So some of the things I like most are actually talking to patients when you can you can be there for some of their worst days, but hopefully make their days better. And so even though I don't do the surgery, I'll often see them before the surgery, get them ready for surgery, and then see them post-operatively after they've had the surgery and hopefully doing better. Sometimes vascular surgeons amputate legs or feet, and so getting patients ready for that mentally and physically, which often ends up making them feel better in the long run because they've been sick. So that's my favorite thing, is just being able to have direct interaction with people and even if they're there for varicose veins, we usually talk about their life or their kids that are with them, and it's just it's nice to get to know people like that.
Thank you. Can you say like what education you needed to have your career?
Yes. So to be a PA, you need to get a bachelor's degree and then apply to PA schools. So you can get your bachelor's degree in anything, and most people will kind of follow pre-med, pre-PA science courses, and then each PA school will require different prerequisites. So usually people will apply to the schools where they have most of the classes done, and then the PA program is a master's degree. So you get a master's degree usually in, my master's was in biomedical science, but but I was a PA at the end. I think they're all a master's degree now.
Okay, thank you. What are some parts of your job that you do not like?
So there's a lot of paperwork and charting that initially I liked, and for a long time I liked, but in recent years it's getting to be a little less than fun. So just doing a lot of documenting. So as many of you know, in medicine, if you don't document something, it didn't happen. So we document phone calls, emails, all the progress notes. You try to document everything you can that would be important. So it's not as fun.
All right, I think I hear that a lot about people don't like the paperwork of jobs, even like police officers. I feel like I hear that a lot. How did you get to where you are now?
Um,
That's kind of a general question, but like, I guess, how did you know that you wanted to become a physician's
yeah.
assistant, and then education-wise?
So I spent a lot of time trying to decide whether I wanted to pursue medical school and I heard from your talk that a lot of people are pursuing medical school, which I think is fantastic. So I spent a lot of time deciding whether I wanted to pursue medical school, PA school, physical therapy school, something else in life. For me, I kind of thought ahead of time that I would probably want to work part time, or the thought of kind of choosing one avenue in medicine was a little scary to me. And as a PA, you can jump around a lot. So I initially worked in internal medicine and I learned a lot about everything. And then I went to vascular surgery. I interviewed for a gynecology job. I've thought about ER, and I like the fact that you can change a lot. And you can go outside of medicine. You can work in medical device companies. You can work in research. It just felt like there were a lot more avenues I could take.
So, if somebody wanted to become a physician's assistant, what are the talents or habits or characteristics that you should develop at a young age to be successful at your job?
I think probably with all medicine, but definitely as a PA, getting into the field and trying to figure out whether it's right for you early. And then once you're in college, doing some type of internship um, or job, or even being like a nurse's aide is really helpful. And most PA schools now are requiring like 500 to 1,000 hours of actual clinical um, experience. So it's harder
before
to
getting in,
to
or
apply and get in. So
oh wow,
I mean, it depends on the school and the hours, but most schools now want you to have clinical experience before they'll accept you, which is sometimes hard to do, because sometimes you have to get an actual degree to be an EMT or to be a nurse's aide or an LPN to get those hours. So the more hours you can build along the way, especially if you know you want to go into medicine starting early in your undergrad years, just finding different ways. And shadowing doesn't count, although they want you to have shadowing too. It doesn't count as actual patient care if you're not doing something.
So the hours start counting in undergrad, like after.
They could probably count in high school if they're actually patient care. My hours, I did phlebotomy, so I drew blood after college.
Like as a job or as volunteer? Okay.
For the Red Cross in Ohio. But a lot of people these days will end up getting some type of certificate just to get those hours. Like they'll become an EMT or a nurse's aide just so they can get hours. Because it can be picky depending on where you apply.
So it sounds like if you need to get those hours, like you would graduate from undergrad and then you would work like something like with this goal in mind to build all these hours and then apply to grad school.
Which is what the schools want. They want you to get these hours not for the purpose of applying to school, but for the purpose of figuring out that you like medicine and that you like patient care and doing this type of job.
Okay, and if you would share, just honestly, do you see this job as a stepping stone to something else, or as a lifelong career? And what are your future dreams?
I see it as a lifelong career. Particularly because most PAs after PA school don't ever want to go back to school again. And because like I said, it has so many options. I don't think, I don't know any PAs that have totally left medicine unless they're staying home and being a homemaker. But there are a lot of options, and it can be your whole career, and it can be as lucrative as it can be fairly lucrative, or it could be a 1-day-a-week gig or a 2-day-a-week gig. Some people will do Botox, or some people will do surgery, and there's just a lot to do. As far as my future, I just came here to visit Jenny, and I was telling her that I'm changing jobs. So I'm leaving direct patient care and going to work for a medical device company. So I will work virtually from home, working with a company that makes vascular devices. So I'll still be working kind of in my specialty, just more behind the scenes.
But like almost as an expert of the field, so that I heard that she was giving like lectures to people.
So I'll bring my clinical knowledge to a company that, a big company that makes medical devices and that are already out in the field. So it'll be different.
Thank you so much. I love the flexibility of just knowing that
Hmm.
you could change careers, but still under the umbrella of physician assistant. So I really,
Yeah, and even though I'm changing careers, like in the back of my head, I always know I can come back to patient care. I can do any field of medicine and just learn it a little bit.
very cool. Well, thank you so much. Well,
Thank you for having me.
we have about 5 minutes left of like required time, and I want to open it up to anybody that might have any questions um, for our physician assistant, Sarah. So anybody have any questions about this field, physician assistant field? I have one question. So you always work with a doctor, right?
So you are always linked to a doctor. They don't always, they don't have to be present. So they don't have to be present, and they could, I think they have to be available by phone, maybe. Um, but you can see patients, you can prescribe, and see patients for follow up, just depending on like, since I work in a surgery specialty and I can't do most of the surgeries, then I'm very linked to surgeons.
Okay.
But when I worked in internal medicine, I had my own patients that I saw beginning to end,
Mm,
and then I had physicians available if I needed them, kind of like a team base.
okay. Are you like on call? Do you have to be on call at your job?
Not my current job.
Okay.
When I worked in internal medicine, I was on call Monday through Friday for my own patients.
Oh, okay. All right. Are there any questions that you have? How many of you have heard of that career, like a physician assistant career? Can you give me a thumbs up or everyone turn their screen off? Okay, Shalom has heard.
Mhm.
I hadn't heard of it until I was a junior in college. So
I haven't.
So how did you get introduced to the field in the beginning? Like in
um,
your classes? Like did they
so no, so I was doing the pre-med courses, and I think a junior in college, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not so sure I want to commit to 4 years of med school, four
Mhm.
years of residency, maybe a fellowship, um, because I knew I wanted to have kids, and I knew I wanted to travel, and I didn't necessarily want to study for 8, 10 years. And my someone who lived next to me in the dorm was like, I'm going to be a PA, and so I started talking with her about it, and then I kind of took courses for both of them, and eventually decided to apply to PA school.
Hmm. All right. I like that. I think if like thinking about family and like wanting to travel and like wanting a little bit more freedom for like 8 years, I guess I mean that's a real thing to think about.
Yeah, and a lot of the pre-PA courses are the same as pre-med courses, so sometimes uh, people who have already heard of a PA can do both, can prepare for both at the same exact time and make the decision far later. Or
Mhm.
after undergraduate, not everybody goes straight to med school. Even people who know they want to go to med school don't always go straight and want to get some experience or stop studying for a year or make money for a year. And you can make that decision later. It's not a decision you have to make in undergrad necessarily.
Very cool. All right. Any other last questions?
I have a question. Um, what was your most interesting case so far?
Oh, geez. um, I find cases really interesting when um, it's something unexpected. So in medicine, unfortunately, things don't always, uh, people get sick and they don't always turn out well, or you don't think they're going to turn out well and they turn out well. So things, especially when you make a diagnosis from like your own knowledge. I was just telling a friend about the other day. So someone came in and I think we saw a chest X-ray, and they were having trouble. They were like, "There's something in my throat. Do you think it's my carotid artery?" And we just looked at a really old chest X-ray, and their trachea was a little bit off to the side, but nobody had seen it. Nobody had caught it, and we're like, "That's kind of odd. Like you're having trouble here." So we ordered a CT scan, and they had a big mass actually in their lung that was displacing their trachea. but it was a chest X-ray from a long time ago, and it was kind of like using all of this knowledge that I'd had from before. It had nothing to do with the reason they were coming in, but got to make a diagnosis that for me was exciting, and for me made a difference. But nobody wants to hear that they have a mass, but it's something that the patient should recover from. So I think the bigger things make a bigger impact on you, for sure.
Great question.
Good to see you, Vincynthia.
All right. Any last questions?
I have another one. Since the human body is just like we don't know a lot about it, and we still like learning about it. Have you or a coworker like had a patient where you like I don't know how to treat them or what's going on with them? And then like how did you go from there? How did you solve that problem?
If I came across something I didn't know how to treat, is that what you asked?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, that happens a lot. I think so. In vascular surgery in particular, you come across things that you haven't seen before. It's a lot of like changing the plumbing around. One of the surgeons I work for told me one of the reasons he likes vascular surgery is because every few months he does a surgery he's never done before, and he's been operating for 30 years.
Wow.
And it's always medicine is always a community. So where I currently work at a major medical institution, and our division of maybe 4 PAs and 7 surgeons, we have a meeting every Monday morning at 6:30 for 2 hours, and one day a month we do something called M&M. One day a month we share cases. So there's always people there to talk to. So whether you're the best surgeon in the division or you're the newest PA right out of school, you always have that community, and every single sect of medicine has this, where it's called conference, where you talk about cases you don't know what to do with. Maybe you think you made a mistake. Maybe there's something called morbidity and mortality that you're required to do also, where anybody who's died or any medical mistakes you talk about. And it's a conference where everything is fairly confidential. It's meant for learning and it's meant for support. So you never are alone. Even the best surgeons have people to talk to, and they have a reserved time slot to do that in. And we tell patients that. So if a patient comes in with a big, we're at a big medical institution in Ohio, and if somebody comes in with something that you need to conference about, then we tell the patient, we're going to review this with all our colleagues and we're going to get back to you and we're going to come up with a plan. And I think that sounds really reassuring. You're basically telling the patient that you don't know exactly what to do, but that you're going to put your heads together and come up with a plan. So no matter which part of medicine you choose to go into, you should always have support in the right situation.
That's really cool. I thought M&Ms were just like on TV, like from watching trauma system.
Yeah, and it's when you're young, you have more support, and when you're older, you give the support. So it's a progression. You don't have to become if Vincynthia becomes a surgeon, she's not alone at all, especially not at the beginning.
All right. I love that. It's like a lifelong learning mentality and teamwork. So one thing I am taking away is that knowing how to work with people, like being a good team member, even like in high school, your group projects, just knowing how to like motivate, that's a lifelong thing. Like you're never going to be good enough that you get to be alone from now on. No, it's never going to be like that. In every field, you should be able to work with other people. So
for sure.
Thank you guys so much for your time.